What is up, everybody? We are about 10 minutes away from the official start of the 2024 Major League Baseball draft. And for the first time in franchise history, the Cleveland Guardians have the number one overall pick. We don't know who they're going to select yet, so we're going to hang out for the next 20 or so minutes, talk about who we think will be the selection at 1-1, who we think should be the selection at 1-1. And if those two names don't line up, we'll try and figure out why that's the case. This was a blast for the NBA draft, where I had names and scouting reports and detailed information on about 25 different players and Jalen Tyson. I just had one little footnote on. If the Guardians don't take either Travis Bazzana, Jac Caglianone, or Jac Caglianone, None, whatever you pronounce it. I've said it wrong every time I pronounce it. Charlie Condon or J.J. Wetherholt, I will be severely disappointed because those are the only four guys I am prepared to talk about with some legitimate information on. Just foremost, let me get it out there. If you want a diehard, true, nitty-gritty, study the tape, knows everything about these guys, draft analyst, I'm not your guy. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you guys. You guys know what I do, what I don't do. I can tell you I have done my homework. I've talked to enough people to have a slight clue. I'll tell you who I want in a sec, but I'm curious. Who do you want with the Guardians, with the number one pick for the Guardians? Who do you believe they should take? Put it in the comments. We're going to read a couple of these as we hang out and count down the minutes until the 2024 MLB Draft officially gets underway here in 7 minutes. It is 6:53, and I am anxiously awaiting the official decision here from the Cleveland Guardians. Bazzana seems to be the consensus favorite among Guardians Twitter. Condon appears to be the consensus favorite among, I think he has the highest potential in this class when you talk to guys who do this for a living. J.J. Wetherholt seems to be the guy who could be the pick if the Guardians are trying to save a little money off the top and then go and use that extra money to sign a player with pick 36 or 48, which they should also make tonight. Bull and Zach are having a Ultimate Guardian show tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Zach has to write a column as soon as this pick goes live, which is why you're stuck with me for now, and you'll get Bull and Zach at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. We'll also break down this pick in full detail with Jay and G and Bull and Jason tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, which, by the way, is 10 to 12 tomorrow, not 11 to 1. The show tomorrow, 10 to 12, not 11 to 1. So what's up, guys? We got at least 6 minutes before the Guardians are on the clock, and then we'll see how long it takes for the Guardians to submit their picks. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the chat, and let's talk a little baseball for a few minutes here. I'll give you my thoughts at 7 o'clock at the top of the hour on who I think the team will pick. And if I was in Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff's shoes, who I would pick, and they're not the same name. So you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let them know, and let's talk a little baseball until it is time to break down a pick. And shout out to Brett Watson, who says, I appreciate that all you and the UCSS crew do. Thank you, Mike. Well, Brett, we appreciate you as well, my friend. Thank you guys for tuning in. We had over 1,400 people live when the Cavs made their selection of Jalen Tyson. That was the 20th pick in the first round. This is the 1-1 overall, the number one pick in the draft. Your choice of any player on the board available. And let's try to get to 1,400. I don't think it's possible. But if you guys tell enough people we're doing this, then maybe it is. We got a long way to go. But let's get into some of these viewer comments before we get underway here. Lawrence Goggins. What's up, Lawrence? Says, I want Cags or Condon, and I'll be happy. So Lawrence is going with one of the two SEC prospects if he was making the choice. I don't even know how to pronounce this name. Pork chop sandwiches, I think it's an abbreviation for. Says, I have to trust this front office with any pick they make. None of us truly know any better. That's true. They have scouted these guys a lot more than any of us have. But it doesn't mean they're always right. Keep that in mind. Doesn't mean they're right just because they've done more homework. Sometimes if you take tests, the person who studies the most is not always the one who gets the highest score. Sometimes there's just a little intuition and feel for these things that make some guys better at drafting than others. Evan 419's in the house. Here we go. Adam says, I want them to take Condon or Bazzana, and I want to know who they will pick at 36. If they take Condon or Bazzana, according to reports, the chances they can, what's the word I'm looking for? All right, before I'm going to hold it, Adam, I'm going to come back to this comment in 1 second. For anyone not familiar with how the MLB draft works, each team gets a pool of money to spend on their draft picks. And it's slotted by value. First overall gets the most money, second, yada, 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 yada. And there's a situation at hand where Cleveland, in theory, could try and get whoever they take 1-1 overall to take slightly below slot value. So let's say the slot value is $10 million, for example. I'm making up numbers. Paul Skeens got $10.7 million last year and a new record high. Let's say they get him to agree to a $9 million signing bonus. Well, that gives them $1 million to use to help lure a better prospect into the second round, because they can tell a high school kid, hey, don't sign with whatever school you're committed to. We'll give you an extra $1 million in signing bonus if you come join our farm system in the second round. So 1-1 is the most important pick tonight, but depending on who they take 1-1 will determine how much money they have to potentially lure another first-round talent into the second round with the 36th or the 48th pick. So Condon and Bazzana, two certainly popular choices among Guardians fans. Z Swan says Baz. Han Solo Dolo is riding with Bazzana or no one else. MS Harris says the dude from West Virginia, he's a beast. That is Wetherholt. Adam says we need a hitter like Condon. He could be our Ohtani or Judge. So I was talking to a few people I know who cover SEC baseball for a living. They work in the College Station market, but their job is to cover SEC baseball. And I asked them both specifically, what about Condon and Caglianone is special, makes them different than some of the other guys that have come through the SEC in the past? And Ryan Broninger, who I had the conversation with on Twitter, who I worked with back in College Station, and a few other people I talked to, all kind of said the same thing. When Condon or Caglianone came to the plate, it was stop what you're doing, call your mom, call your dad, call your sister, your brother, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your best friend, say, hey, turn on the game because this guy's up to bat and you have no idea what he can do, but we probably know he's not going to get out. Whatever it is, it's going to be bad for our team, but this guy is so fun to see hit and to watch perform at the plate that you have to stop what you're doing and make sure it's appointment television. I'm not sure if outside of Jose Ramirez, the Guardians have a guy like that in their lineup. Now, Caglianone may not translate. He does a high swing and miss rate. Condon, despite having monster power numbers, his 37 homers at Georgia this year, was the 5th most ever in a single season in college baseball history. His strikeout rate was incredibly low, so take that for what it is. Condon would certainly be a good choice. I see Adam says if we pick JJ, we're a cheap franchise. Not necessarily true. If you take JJ and you can get another first-round talent at 36 or 48 because of the money you saved, you're still spending the exact same amount of money. It doesn't matter. They're going to spend the exact same amount of money overall in this rookie class, whether it's Bazzana, Condon, Caglianone, or JJ. It's just a matter of how they allocate that. And let me tell you a stat I heard from my boy David Waxman, who is a PR person for the Big 12 Conference. He sent me this stat. Last season in 2023, so for anyone who doesn't know, J.J. Wetherholt hurt his hamstring in 2024, missed part of the season, still put up decent numbers, hit in the 300s, but last season, where he established himself as the number one prospect in the class, he hit over the course of the entire season 449. 449 over the course of an entire season in 2023. That was the best batting average of any Power 5 player since Buster Posey in 2008. So last season as a sophomore, J.J. Wetherholt hit 449, which is flat out absurd. He hit in the 300s this year coming off the hamstring injury, which is still impressive, but obviously 449 as a sophomore, even more impressive. And frankly, historically good, the best Power 5 batting average for a player since Buster Posey in 2008. And Buster Posey, how did he turn out? Well, he's a Canton Hall of Famer at some point. Not Canton, excuse me, a Cooperstown Hall of Famer at some point. ESPN is running the official Welcome to the Draft music, which means the MLB Draft is shortly getting underway. Paul P says, how do you feel about the guards really struggling going into the break? Where did the offense go? Listen, the Guardians are still 20-something games over 500 at the All-Star break. It has been an incredible first half of the season. But when you look at the way they were winning games, frankly, that level of success was unsustainable with their starting pitching. You couldn't win 65% of your games with the performances you were getting on a regular basis from Cookie Carrasco, from Logan Allen, from Tristan McKenzie. Hell, Ben Lively's been up and down. You called up Spencer Howard. You signed Matthew Boyd. It just wasn't sustainable. So I'm not surprised for the last 3.5 weeks we saw this team kind of revert to what their pitching indicated they should be. Now, I think they're going to make a deal at the trade deadline to acquire some help. The starting pitching certainly can't be much more consistently worse, and hopefully Logan Allen or McKenzie or someone can right the ship in AAA and find a way to help this rotation during the playoff push. Gavin Williams coming back certainly helps. He looked pretty good in his last 2 starts before the break. So I don't feel great about it, but overall, they're 20-plus games over 500. They have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. It's the first time they're leading the division at the break in quite a while. So I would say you have nothing but good things to think about the Guardians, even though the last couple of days and last 2 series, frankly, have left a sour taste in your mouth. DJ says, Bazzana says he wants to help the club win a World Series this year. He also went to Oregon State, just like Stephen Kwan. I would like to pump the brakes on anyone thinking whoever they draft tonight, 1-1, will play on the major league team this year. I don't think that's happened in 30, 40, 50 years where a guy who was drafted then makes his debut the same year, especially as an offensive player. I could be wrong. Like, don't quote me on that, but Bull mentioned it the other day, and we had to look, and we had to go back and find the name, and it was some name I had never heard of, and it was like 40 years ago. So, I wouldn't expect it. I love the attitude. I hope Condon would say the same thing if you asked. I hope Caglianone would say the same thing if you asked. I hope Wetherholt would say the same thing if you asked. But I don't know. I would highly say I'd say it's highly unlikely. And also, I'm not sure where he plays if he does make the jump, because you have Jimenez at second. You can move him to short. Do you put Bazzana at second? Then Martinez has been playing well. Does Martinez move to center? And what do you do with Tyler Freeman? So a lot of moving parts there. Gabby Weaver says, nice Guardians flag. Yep. Officially official. It is up there. So shout out to the Guards. Once again, I'll remind everybody, I did not have the Guardians flag up there because when I went to get the flags at first, Rally House did not have a Guardians flag. Now they do. So I picked one up today. So there we go. Apostle Jones says they can use a power hitting infielder. I'm going Bazzana. MB says Condon. Pork chop sandwich says I nailed it. Let's go pork chops. Michael says, for this pick, do we take into account we might have a new majority owner in 6 years? No, I don't think the new owner has anything to do with this particular pick. This pick is being made and will spend the majority of his entire contract with Cleveland. And I say contract, at least his first contract, with the Dolans being the owner. He won't even be eligible for arbitration for a while. If he comes up and is a stud already, he could be looking at a new deal in 2-3 years, but in 6-7 years, if no deal's been agreed upon and there's no extension in play, he'll be long gone. So I don't think the owner has anything to do with this particular pick. Gen XJ says, I think Cleveland's fatigued. They've played 13 games in 13 days, something like that. They played a bunch in a row. They had a couple off days at weird times. They had 2 off days in a week in May, and maybe it was June. But they had 2 off. They had off Monday and a Thursday in the same week, which is weird. So it catches up with you. Yeah, they're probably fatigued a little bit, but so is everyone else. Matthew Dinkus says, just because Condon is 6'6" doesn't mean he'll be Aaron Judge. Yeah, there's a lot of guys who are tall that are not Aaron Judge, but you could also look at what Condon did against SEC pitching in college with 37 home runs this year, 25 as a true sophomore, and think, well, damn, he's got some legit power. So I would take the 6'6" out of the equation when you're looking at what makes Condon a potential, and I say potential because if he reaches Aaron Judge level, then we're talking about arguably the best player in the entire league. I would say if he does that, you have hit an absolute freaking grand slam on the selection. I think that's putting a ceiling even too high on whoever they take 1-1 here. But I don't think it's the size that draws the Aaron Judge comparison. It's the size plus the power plus the pure swing. It's not just the power. So when I look at Jahan Noel, excuse me, I call him Joel. I combine the two names. John Kenzie Noel. He's got a power swing. Not much finesse, not much anything else to the swing, but immense power. Condon has a swing with a low K rate, a low chase rate, and a high contact and barrel rate. So that's, I think, more of the comparison than the height. MS Harris also says we got Ralphie coming soon. Ralphie is incredible. By the way, the Guardians officially on the clock, which means in the next 5 to 10 minutes, we will know who will be the first number 1 overall pick in the history of the Cleveland Guardians Indians franchise. BCS 20 says it's going to be an Aussie day. Bazzana and Travers. Yoshidos 2006 said, huge shout out to Bull for drawing me back into baseball. He's as good as anyone in media. Shout out Bull. Bull is terrific when it comes to talking baseball. Adam says Condon, it's not close. Lance Lebster says Wetherholt's the best player. He says, I'm from West Virginia, but JJ literally transformed our organization. Z Swan says, Wetherholt's from Pittsburgh and is a Ravens fan. And for that, I am out. Hey, that would be a funny curveball in the Cleveland athlete media land space if their number 1 overall pick, the first number 1 overall pick in the history of the organization, was a... How's he from Pittsburgh and a Ravens fan? Bad job out of Pittsburgh. Can't even keep your own kids rooting for your hometown team when they go to a division rival. Come on. Cliff Davis says, I don't watch college baseball, so I'm just praying the guards get it right. Let's see. K-Dude says, I don't really care what he did last year. We also have too many prospects coming that play his position. Seems like a waste of a draft pick. I mean, you can say the same thing about Bazzana, middle infielder. Condon doesn't really have a position. And I do think last year matters because he was hurt this year. So his last full season as a healthy baseball player, he hit .449, which, as I mentioned earlier, is the highest Power 5 batting average since Buster Posey in 2008. When he was healthy this season, he hit in the 300s, had 8 home runs. He wasn't bad by any means, but a hamstring injury lingers and just wasn't healthy for the entire season. So it is what it is. When is the first pick? Well, the draft is underway. The Guardians are on the clock. The pick time length, to my knowledge, is 10 minutes. So it should be anytime soon. Should be the next 5 minutes here. We should have a pick. According to Wikipedia, according to my EP director, Steve, Garrett Crochet went directly from the University of Tennessee to the Chicago White Sox. So there you go. Maybe that is the last time. I was unaware of that. I'm not sure when the last hitter to do it is, though. Let's see. What else we got? A lot of people split, by the way. A lot of people split. Bazzana, Condon, Caglianone. Not a lot of Wetherholt guys, which is fine. Hey, to each their own. I would take Condon. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. I don't think you can teach that level of power. And the way I hear people talk about him in terms of his discipline at the plate, the size and strength he brings, he was a pretty highly rated high school football quarterback recruit, which means he's athletic enough, in my opinion, to play left or right field or even third base, wherever the Guardians feel he can make the most natural transition. With that being said, he hit 37 homers in 60 games last year. He hit 25 homers in 57 games in 2023. He's got over 60 career homers in 2 seasons in the SEC against the best pitching in college baseball. At 6'6", the dude's strong as an ox. I think what he has from an intangible standpoint, the stuff you can't teach, he's through the roof. And he's improved as a baseball player each and every year of his career. And that's why I would take Charlie Condon with the first overall pick in the draft. ESPN just threw up a graphic on the screen that said the Guardians have $18.3 million to spend on their draft class. That is $1.1 million more than the Rockies, who have the second most. The Reds have the third most at $15.8 million. So it doesn't matter if they draft Condon, Bazzana, Wetherholt, Caglianone, whoever it is. The Guardians will spend $18.3 million on this rookie class. The difference is how they decide to divvy it up. And ESPN is the pick in. Hold on. Rob Manfred is walking to the podium. The Guardians are about to make the pick. Stand by. Travis Bazzana is the pick. The second baseman out of Oregon State is heading to the Cleveland Guardians, the first ever number 1 overall pick in franchise history is Travis Bazzana out of Oregon State, the same school that Stephen Kwan went to. Bazzana had an incredible junior season here with the Beavers. He hit 28 home runs from the second base position. He is the first second baseman to ever go number 1 overall in the Major League Baseball draft. Bazzana, the all-time career leader in home runs at Oregon State, according to the little graphic they just displayed on the screen. He's the second number 1 overall pick from Oregon State, joining Adley Rutschman, who's now the superstar catcher of the Baltimore Orioles. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Travis Bazzana, the number 1 overall pick. He was widely regarded as the top prospect this most recent season with Oregon State. Put up just silly numbers. In 60 games, he had 87 hits. 16 of those were doubles. 4 of those were triples. He hit 28 home runs. He drove in 66 RBIs. He stole 16 bases. He hit .407 with a .586 on base percentage. He slugged .911, which gives him an OPS of 1.479. A terrific offensive talent at the plate coming into the Cleveland Guardians organization. Sure, the Guardians have a plethora of middle infielders now, but guess what? Those are some of the most valued and important prospects to have. We've seen the Guardians test out a ton of different guys that have come up as middle infielders at different positions. We've seen Angel Martinez play third, play second, play short, play the outfield. Schneemann has played literally every position on the board. Tyler Freeman, a second baseman, then a shortstop. Now he's playing center field. Travis Bazzana, the first overall pick in the 2024 MLB Draft. He's 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. He hits from the left side. He throws from the right side, or with his right hand is the proper way to say it. My first thought, it's a home run pick. Like I said, I wanted Condon, but I was A-OK, 100% A-OK with whoever the Guardians took. ESPN showing a stat, his 251 career hits in 3 seasons, the most ever by an Oregon State Beaver, and his 45 career home runs, also the most ever by an Oregon Beaver. That 251 hit mark, more than Stephen Kwan had in Corvallis, more than Adley Rutschman had in Corvallis. And guys, he is now one of the top, if not the top prospect in the Guardians farm system, which was pretty desperate, in need of a shot in the arm. Let me ask you guys, it was split as we were leading up to the pick. Are you happy with Bazzana? Are you thrilled on a scale of 1 to 10? With 10 being I'm ecstatic, I'm doing jumping jacks, I'm doing backflips. There you go. That's a 10. At 1, you're, I wanted someone else. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you go? There's so many different avenues and things this can mean for the Guardians. Maybe Bazzana is a natural second baseman. He stays at second base. You can move Jimenez to short. Maybe Martinez is short. We'll see what happens. But Jimenez is such a good second baseman. Maybe they decide to move Bazzana to another position. I saw in a couple scouting reports on Bazzana, they said if he wasn't a second baseman, he could potentially move to a corner outfielder position. So maybe he's your future right fielder. Once again, that's pure speculation from the scouting services, but I don't know. I mean, you have a million middle infielders now, so there's clearly a logjam. It's similar to the Cavs, who have 23 different guys who are 6'4.5", 6'5", that can't really shoot. Now the Guardians have a bunch of middle infield prospects that they're going to have to shuffle and sort out. On the other hand, Bazzana ain't getting traded anytime soon. So what middle infielders now available for trade? And obviously it won't happen immediately. Maybe at the deadline, maybe you feel more comfortable parting with one or two of them. But overall, I don't think you're going to see them package 3 or 4 of these guys together for a superstar pitcher, because they've had the pick. If they knew it was Bazzana the whole time, they would have done it earlier. So I don't think that's crazy. Real quick, the Cincinnati Reds are on the clock, and the commissioner's at the podium. With the second pick, the Reds select Chase Burns, the pitcher from Wake Forest, with the second overall pick, which means Condon falls to 3 potentially, or 4. Colorado has the 3rd pick. Oakland has the 4th pick. So we'll see where Charlie Condon goes, but Chase Burns, the right-handed pitcher out of Wake Forest, the 2nd overall pick in the draft. Yeah, Bazzana and Jimenez, it's a hell of a middle infield. I'm not sure how good Bazzana is with his glove. I'll be totally honest with you. All the attention has been on his bat, not his glove. He had in 20, let's see. In his career, according to Pro Baseball Reference, he has 10 errors in his career. I don't know how to compare that to anything. I'll be totally honest. I don't know if that's good or bad. No idea. So, like, I don't know. So maybe. He's not a second infielder or a second baseman. Maybe he's a shortstop. Maybe he can play third, maybe left field, maybe right field. We'll find out. But they have a ton of different options now in the middle infield, and it'll be exciting to see how the Guardians let this pan and sort out. But the pick is in. It is Bazzana, the second baseman from Oregon State. And I think it has to be a reason to be excited. I listen. There were a lot of people who said, make it easy. Make it like, don't think too hard. This is the guy. Let's do it. And the Guardians will find out the money side of it in a little bit. But they have added the number 1 prospect on a lot of players' boards to their farm system. And it's funny because I see a few people in here saying, wow, we messed this up. And I see a few people saying this is an absolute home run pick. The truth is we're not going to know for a year or two. Wyatt Langford, who was the 4th overall pick in last year's draft by the Texas Rangers, has now and started the season in the opening day lineup. He was so good throughout the minors in the second half of last season that he was immediately promoted after his half season in minor league baseball to the majors. I think that is in play for Bazzana, but that's certainly not regular. So just because it happened with Skeens and just because it happened with Langford, I don't think that's something that we should just expect from all top prospects moving forward. But, hey, the Guardians need a bat with some pop in the lineup. And if he can adjust to the major league level of pitching quickly, and we'll learn that through his adaptation to high A, double A, wherever they start, I think really I think he'll start in high A. Hopefully he moves up through Akron pretty quickly and we get a chance to see him in Columbus this year. That would be the ideal scenario. But all in all, Travis Bazzana, the first overall pick for the Guardians. EP Steve says, bring him up tomorrow, move Jimenez to shortstop. You know how the Guardians work. That's not going to happen. And who knows if he's ready. Seriously, like, not to rain on anyone's parade. And I'm not trying to. The last hitter, according to EP Steve, to go straight from the college draft to the pro lineup was Xavier Nagy in the year 2000. It's been 24 years since it's happened. I don't think it's going to happen this time, but I would be thrilled if it is. You want to talk about content for days and give us something to look forward to on a night in, night out basis. The number one overall pick being in the Guardians lineup from the get-go. Now, wouldn't that be something? So we're going to talk about this in way more depth tomorrow. We're going to make every attempt we can to get an Oregon State coach, scout, player, teammate, whatever. Steve wants me to mention that he's from Australia. We mentioned that earlier, Steve. He turns 22 years old on August 28th, which means he's not a super young prospect, but none of these guys were. He spent 3 years in college, just like the rest of them. So he's not an 18-year-old. He's a little more seasoned than a guy like Ralphie Velasquez, who was their first-round pick in 2023. Yeah, listen, of course Bazzana said he wants to get called up and help them win a World Series this year. Of course he said that. What else are we supposed to say? I want to sit in AAA for 4 seasons before I get called up. Gee Willikers, like, no, of course he wants to do that. So I doubt it. I hope it happens. It'd be awesome if he is. But I doubt it. And I think it's important to be patient with him. When he's ready, the Guardians will promote him. And we'll see what he can do. Until then, let's enjoy the fact that he should dominate high A pitching, dominate double A pitching, hopefully dominate triple A pitching, and earn his way up to the big leagues. The Rockies are about to make their pick. Then we'll sign off here. Charlie Condon goes 3rd overall to the Rockies. The thought of that dude mashing home runs in Coors Field is scary. I mean, you talk about a guy with elite power. Condon with 37 home runs at Georgia this year. In Coors Field, I mean, that has a 40 home run consistent player written all over it in that atmosphere. Great pick for the Rockies. But the Guardians should be celebrating tonight. We'll see what happens with 36 and 48. Those picks are also coming up in just a little bit. The first round's moving pretty fast, so I would estimate that 36th pick is going to come up around 9 o'clock, maybe a little later. That's an estimate. The 48th pick, probably closer to 10. But it's a damn good day if you're a Cleveland Guardians fan. They took the safe route. They took the guy who was on most boards, the number 1 overall player. He comes with an elite bat. He out-hit 2 names, Stephen Kwan and Adley Rutschman, who have turned into terrific Major League Baseball hitters. Bazzana was more prolific than both of them at Oregon State, and he is now in the mix for the Guardians entering the 2024 second half of the season, 2025, 2026, and he's Australian, so I hope he has a crazy cool accent too. That's going to wrap it up for this live draft watch party for your Cleveland Guardians. Travis Bazzana, the first number 1 overall pick in franchise history, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with more on Bazzana on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show from 10 to 12, not 11 to 1, from 10 to 12, coming up tomorrow morning. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Peace.